I'm delighted to be able to meet with you all today, and I'm happy to share some information about Ancestry Library Edition. And if there are any questions that come up along the way, feel free to just let me know, or if you want to save them all to the end, that's fine as well. Kate, I don't know if everybody, I guess, is everybody muted, and I don't know if they can unmute themselves and ask a question at the time, or
they certainly can. Yeah.
Okay.
They can unmute themselves, or they can even throw it in the chat if they have a question. I'll monitor the chat. So.
Okay, that sounds great. All right. Okay, so Ancestry is the world's largest online family history resource. The Library Edition provides over 20 billion records for use in genealogical research. It offers an unprecedented international collection that covers North America, UK, Ireland, Europe, Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, and many other countries. The product was awarded Best Product for Genealogy Reference Database by Library Journal. The Library Edition has many of the same features found in Ancestry.com. There is a minimal learning curve for anyone who has used Ancestry.com previously. Much of the content in Ancestry is unique because most of the name indexes were created by Ancestry. Ancestry is designed for the individual, so there are a lot of personalized functionality and options available to private subscribers that are not available in the Library Edition. For example, family trees. I mean, you can search on and you can find family trees, but you cannot create a family tree or edit a family tree because there is no personal login. For the basics. So this is the home page. There's a similar look and feel between Ancestry.com and Ancestry Library Edition. The content is, and how you search it and access it is the same. It is only the personalization features that are not included. From the home page, you have many options, from beginning to search, to searching specific content, to looking at research guides, or following some quick links into more narrow content like census records, or vital records, or military records, or immigration records. Search can be conducted across all categories or limited to a specific content set. This is the search page for all categories. And this is a page for the census and voter lists. You can see the narrow options on the right. This is a search form that allow users to search for birth, marriage, and death records. And likewise, this is a form to allow individuals to search on military records. And this is to search on immigration records. If you go to the card catalog, you can see the overall collection for all different types of records together in one place. And you can search on them collectively by name, and you can sort them by the date they were added or the date they were modified. Ancestry is constantly adding new content and revising existing content to make it even better. There are message boards that allow you to see notes and messages that others have left. And you can search the boards by topic, or you can search or browse by surname. The Learning Center provides helpful research aids for both novice and experienced researchers. This is an example of just sort of a research guide that provide some search tips to help people get started in their research. There are charts and forms that provide access that are available for access and available to be downloaded and used. As I mentioned before, they're not dynamic. These are charts that you can download and use and work on your own, either on your computer, or you could print them out and use them as hard copies. But they are not dynamic family trees that can be edited. This is the ancestral chart. All guidance I've ever received has been to start with yourself and work backwards. So that's the general guidance we always give anybody who's starting on their genealogical journey, is to start with themselves, go to their parents, their grandparents, and work backwards from there. And this is showing how you get to new collections. As I mentioned, you go to the card catalog, and when you pull the drop down, you can see the date that something was updated or the date that something was added. And you can also sort by record count, so they can see the biggest and the most largest and most significant collections within the whole card catalog. And as I mentioned, there's area where to search for both names and keywords and the types of files. Just as an example, I've done some research on Babe Ruth and looking at his family. And so Babe Ruth was born in 1895. In the 1900 census, we find Babe living with his father and mother in Baltimore. We find that here in this census file, where we can see both Babe listed as well as his mother and father. We can see that from this entry that Babe was 5 years old. When Babe was 5 years old, his parents had been married for 6 years, and that they had 2 children who were no longer living. We can also see that both his father and mother could read and write, and that his father was employed in the lightning rod business at the time. Ten years later, in the 1910 census, we can see that Babe Ruth's father now works in a saloon, and that Babe now has a 9-year-old sister, and Babe's uncle also lived with them at that time. You find these records by searching simply searching for the names within these files on the birth, marriage, or death section. And you can get straight to a George Ruth page that lists several options where you can find him. There are other George Ruths as well, so you have to do a little bit of filtering out. And so, yes, here you can find a way of accessing special records. Within the collection, there are a lot of neat photographs. And here's photographs from the Library of Congress that include Babe Ruth. And those are all available right inside of Ancestry Library Edition. When you search for famous people, you find a lot of pictures like that. It's also true of Heritage Quest, our other product. Also in the product, you can search for and find grave sites. Here you can see grave sites for Babe Ruth. An additional use case is one for Francis B. Way. Francis Brown Way was a United States Army captain who was killed in action during the U.S. amphibious assault and liberation of the Philippine Islands of Japan in 1944 during World War II. He was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously for extraordinary heroism in action in Leyte. So searching on Francis B. Way. And then we get all results for Francis. And from there, I've selected a census file from the 1940 census when Francis was 22 years old. And we can tell that he was born in Hawaii. And that prior to service in the Army, he was a stockroom clerk. And that he had completed his 4th year of college. And some of these files could be hard to read, but you can, because of the cursive text that could be on, but due to Ancestry's robust indexing and treatment of the files, you can work with that content very easily and expand, and zoom in and zoom out, and be able to read the files very, very easily. So here you can see additional, when you're on this page for census files, you can see that there are additional files on the right-hand side where you can go and see other files that are related to Francis B. Way. Here, for example, we find the UCLA yearbook, where Francis B. Way was a quarterback. Now, a few notes about access and more information. Now, remote access for Ancestry Library Edition is a pretty significant topic. Prior to COVID, Ancestry Library Edition offered no remote access. In March of 2020, Ancestry agreed at ProQuest's request to allow customers to use remote access for Ancestry Library Edition. Prior to that, Heritage Quest really served as the remote access genealogy product. But when the pandemic arrived, it was seen as pretty essential that that we allow customers to use remote access and to be able to use Ancestry. That temporary access has been, as I mentioned, has been going on since March of 2020. So for a year and a half, that temporary access is due to expire at the end of this year. So the last day of December is sort of thought to be the end of this. Ancestry will get information over the next month or so if that is to be the case, for sure. And we will message all customers and let them know that that is the case. It is ultimately its Ancestry's decision. ProQuest does not really have an influence on the decision, and ProQuest strongly believes in remote access for all products. Ancestry Library Edition is the only product that ProQuest sells that does not offer remote access as part of its normal subscription. For more information on Ancestry Library Edition and other products for ProQuest, there's a robust LibGuide collection, and you are more than welcome to access those LibGuides. There are training materials on there. There are PowerPoints. There are videos. There are lessons to help you and patrons learn more about the product and how to use it and how to get started. And that is all I have for my presentation. Are there any questions that I can answer?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
So I saw the Social Security number for Babe Ruth. You know, in this day and age with Social Security numbers being stolen and things like that, I'm not saying people would steal his, but is that something that is readily available?
Social Security numbers are not, they're not redacted from within the product. They're not. Okay. That is valuable feedback. I will pass that along to Ancestry to share that concern. I have heard it. I have heard it before, and I'm certain that my partners at Ancestry have heard it much more than I. But yeah, they're not in practice of redacting material.
Okay. Okay, Lynn's asking about the cost. Lynn, I will get back with everybody on that. This was really just more of an informational piece, and then I will, you know, as libraries are interested, I will work with Mike, our rep, to look at costs for each library. Ruth is asking, does our website have to be, does our website have to be able to verify cardholders in order to access Ancestry.com? So
you're asking about barcode access for Ancestry Library Edition?
I'm assuming that's what you mean, Ruth. Barcode belt, like authorization or authentication. Yes.
Yeah, we are in the process of barcode access is not currently available, I think, for Ancestry Library Edition. We have some changes we're making to allow for that soon, like in the next couple of weeks.
So how because it wasn't available outside of the library until the pandemic, how did people get remote access? How are they getting remote access right now?
I think it's been mostly through proxy servers.
Okay. So I have a family member who's really big in Ancestry.com. And so our family, she's got all the stuff on there.
Yep.
If I go into Ancestry Library Edition, can I pull that stuff up? Would I be able to see all that?
Yes, you can find records that they have created or left or sort of tagged to be, you know, as a part of their, you know, within their folder or something, you know, provided that they have made their work available. So there's an option for them to keep their work private.
Okay.
But I think many people, you know, just make it available for, you know, for all to find and work with, because that's, you know, part of the intent is sort of a communal research, right?
But I wouldn't be able to add to that. Not
through the library edition.
Gotcha.
You can find it. I mean, you can search for it. You can find it. You can look at it, read it. But yeah, you need a consumer account to be able to edit or participate in that.
And how do you have printing capabilities? Like, would be able to print off some of that?
You can print. Yes, you can print records. You can download and save them as PDFs. You can email them to yourself. In fact, I think it's a very, very common thing that people, you know, using the library edition, find something of interest, they email it to themselves so they can look at it at home.
Sure.
And then, you know, decide later that they want to go further. And so they sign up for the consumer edition.
Gotcha. So if libraries were deciding to get a subscription to the Ancestry Library Edition, is there training provided for staff, or is it they just kind of have to go in and figure out?
No, we have trainers. We have
Okay.
2 trainers, and they are available to provide in-house, I mean, not in-house now, but
Yeah.
remote virtual training. And there's also, as I mentioned on the LibGuide, there's lots of recordings of previous sessions.
Yeah, true. And I'm assuming YouTube probably has stuff that people have created as well.
Right.
Everything.
There's stuff everywhere, but absolutely, if you want a human to come in and be able to talk to yourself and your staff or your patrons, that is certainly available.
Okay. I don't think I have any other questions. If anybody else has questions, either throw it in the chat or unmute, and Rick would be more than happy to answer. I'll give you a few seconds to.
I had a question. I know this is more with the personal accounts, but there are like different levels of membership, like access to US records, access to US and international, and then like an all access. Is there something like that for the, like, are there different tiers for like the library edition, or no?
There's just one tier for library edition. Yeah.
Good question.
I mean, I mentioned as a part of the presentation, I did mention we have Heritage Quest, which is, sort of a tiering in a sense of what you're maybe getting to, but that's the only tier really that I can think of. The Ancestry Library Edition has basically one form. Heritage Quest is a smaller collection. It has much of the same functionality. It has existed primarily because it offers remote access. So before COVID, it was sort of the go-to genealogical product that librarians would sign up for if remote access was essential for
them. So there's also, what is Fold 3? What is that?
Fold 3 is military records.
Okay.
And so it is a genealogical archive of military records.
Okay. So a library could get the Ancestry Library Edition, Fold 3, and Heritage Quest in like a bundle, perhaps, or?
Yeah, and there's also newspapers.com.
Okay.
Which is another, that is a product that is owned by Ancestry, but we also sell a library edition version of that.
Okay.
And yes, you can get a bundle of those, and Mike can walk you through the options with the bundling.
Okay. And so are you thinking at the end of December that they are going to stop doing the remote access?
My gut tells me yes.
Okay.
Barring some significant negative news.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be, I think, a disappointment to many. Yeah. I think, but we are, we're trying to push Ancestry to a permanent remote option. But Ancestry, it is their decision, it is their product, and ProQuest, we can advocate, but it is not our decision. And so they've not said no to that, but they've definitely said we need to make sure that it's the right thing for us. Mm-hmm. And so they have to look at the data, they have to look at the usage data, and most importantly, they have to look at the conversion data, because the reality of the library edition is that it is there to increase the consumer business. It's there to get people to sign up for the consumer, right? So Ancestry's concern from the get-go has been, if we make remote edition, widely available, is there going to be a negative consequence to our consumer business? we at ProQuest do not believe it will, because as I mentioned, the library edition still does not have all those bells and whistles, the personalization that you get. And so I think there are people at Ancestry who fully understand that argument, but it takes time to get those decisions made.
So basically, stay tuned, and we'll see what.
Stay tuned for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other questions for Rick while we've got him here live, virtually live? You can always email me questions if you think of something later, and I can email both Rick and Mike back too. And so.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm not hearing anything. So I will just say thanks so much, Rick, for your time. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all you guys who joined us today too. So have a great rest of your day and the rest of the week too. So take care.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Bye, Rick.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.